Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
Strategic back again. What's going on, guys? Hope you guys had a great week so far. Today is a beautiful day, guys. Today is my son's birthday. He's turning 6 today. Great day. So normally I would not be here with you guys, but he is at school. We're not going to let him miss school because it's his birthday. After school, he's going to have a grand old time. We got a lot planned for him over the next few days. So I'm looking forward to just having a great time with my son. But then this came upon my feed, and I felt like I needed to come here and talk to you guys about this story. This is a young lady by the name of Isis Morales. Now, that's not her real name. That's like her YouTube handle. She has this YouTube channel about trophy wives. And I do have my feelings about relationship gurus, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But she came on YouTube and she spoke about how she married a monster. And what was this monster? Physically abusive, mentally abusive, emotionally abusive? This monster, she alleges, sexually abused her children. Now, I think this is nuance. And I know that a lot of people are instantly like, this guy must be guilty and all. We're going to get into that because remember, when you're watching this show, you're watching a professional. And as a professional, I see both sides, all right? And these things are never as what they seem. But I think we can learn a lot from what she's telling because I want to use my expertise to walk you through the process of what somebody is to expect when these allegations are made and the process that one has to go through in order to get to a place of what we would call justice. We're going to talk about all that stuff today, all right? Before we get started, though, some really cool things happened in the mail today that I want to talk about. Number one, we got finally the shirts that I ordered like 2-3 months ago. That's why I'm no longer dealing with Teespring. I still have the account with them. So if anybody ordered anything from Teespring, you're still going to get it. If you order something from Teespring now, which I wouldn't recommend you do, you're still going to get it. But I'm not advertising my Teespring store because I'm looking for a replacement store because Teespring is not a scam. They'll get you your stuff. It just takes them a really long time to get it. But we finally got our Don't Be a Per Diem Dad shirts. The shirts that I wanted to get so I could give to you guys for free. This is the back. So we finally got the shirts. So we will be doing a giveaway. I have 2 free shirts that I'm going to do a giveaway. We're going to start the giveaway with the Patreon because Patreon has a function that allows you to randomly select somebody to win a prize. So I'm going to have multiple prizes for the Patreon. I'm going to have challenge coins, t-shirt, all that stuff. And so we'll start it there, and then we're going to do one for the members. All right, so if you're a member, we're going to find, I think I might have a software through my my Nightbot that will allow me to randomly select people. So I want to randomly select the winner to get a Don't Be a Per Diem Dad t-shirt, right? And where do we get the Per Diem Dad from? We got that from Wallace, from Maddie's biological father. I called him a per diem dad. He was a part-time dad, but per diem dad. So we got that stuff. I'm also wearing the sweater that I got, and I actually like the sweater. It's good. The problem is, just, once again, it just takes too long for Teespring to mail these things in. So I apologize for anybody who had any delays in getting your merch, but I got mines. Don't Be a Per Diem Dad hoodie, and that took me 2.5 months to get that. Shame. All right. Anyway, I want to jump right into this, guy. So big shout out to everybody who's here. And one more thing, Dr. Cataclysm is in the building. Dr. Cataclysm first gifted 1 gift membership, and then he came back and gifted 5 gift memberships. So to all the lucky people who got a membership, please thank Dr. Cataclysm. And I want to give a big shout out to a longtime viewer that's been with me for a while. We've sparred, we've battled with each other, we've argued with each other. We have known each other, YouTube known, that is, for years. She was actually one of the first guests, I think the first guest I ever had on my show when I was doing political commentary. And that is A Lady 747. And A Lady 747 has just made herself a member. And I do appreciate A Lady 47 for her continued support. And her relationship that I have with her is kind of what I would dream my relationship would be with YouTubers. That it's not that of adoration, like, oh, you know, you're a YouTube star, which I'm not. I'm just saying how some people look at YouTubers. but just two people where we can agree and disagree respectfully on topics as they come. And I respect that. I love when people can challenge me honestly. You don't just challenge, because sometimes people do that. They'll challenge you simply because they want your attention, which is kind of weird because I'm nobody special. They challenge you when they have a legitimate challenge and debate you. And then they agree with you when they legitimately agree with you. And that's what I'm looking for on YouTube. I want a family. I want us to be family, all right, on the same level, showing love and tackling these very disturbing stories together as a YouTube community. So now we're done with the preamble. Big shout out to Jamie Pace with a a one gift membership to some lucky person. Thank you, Jamie, for being so kind and generous. So please thank Jamie, whoever won that membership. So now, let's get started, guys. Let's do this. Viewer discretion is advised. She is going to talk about something very disturbing, but we're going to get through it together. All right, let's do it. Let me bring it back to the beginning and let's go. Oh, one more thing. She's basically a relationship guru who tries to teach women to be kept wives. How do you get a rich man, basically, who has a lot of resources and live your life as a kept wife, meaning you don't work, you don't do anything, you're fully taken care of by your man, and your job is basically to please your man and to look pretty. That is her thing. And she met this guy after already having 3 kids, 3 sons, and then she met this guy very quickly. I think within a week or a month, they got married and had 2 children after their marriage, okay? So that's the backstory on this woman, all right? So now let's keep going.
Hi, ladies. Hi, trophies. Welcome
She calls herself a trophy wife.
back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. If you hear any noise in the background, that's the new baby. A lot has.
All right. I'm sorry. Some people are going to get mad at me. I don't mean to jump all over the place, but this is very important that I say this. Before we get started down this rabbit hole of her accusing her soon-to-be ex-husband of sexually abusing her children, I have to say this. Number one, these are just allegations. I have not seen any documentation to show that this man was charged or adjudicated with sexually abusing any children, much less his own children. 2, I'm a big fan of Plunder, and I always make it be known who I'm a fan of. Plunder and Grizzly, those are my 2 top people. I was on Plunder's Patreon, so please consider joining Plunder's Patreon, because to be honest with you, I find her Patreon even more enlightening and informative than her actual show. Her Patreon is where it's at. So I'm spending my hard-earned money to be on her Patreon. You should too, okay? That being said, my Patreon is pretty cool too, so make sure you come over to my Patreon as well. Bottom line is, on her Patreon, she did a deep dive on this lady. She knows the lady's real name. It's not Isis Morales. I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is. I'm not going to dox her. Neither did Plunder. She did a deep dive. She found court documents related to a divorce and to a DV case against the father for the daughter, but there is no criminal case that she articulated, at least, that exists. There's also no arrest that Plunder was able to find, okay, at this time. That's kind of odd for me, because understand that anybody can make an allegation of sexual abuse, and it would go to a domestic violence type court until it's adjudicated, and order protections would be issued as a precaution until it's adjudicated. It's kind of odd to me that they don't have a criminal case open. That's odd to me. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying that all of this stuff is alleged, and there's always 2 sides to every story. So the whole internet believes her carte blanche, and listen, I'm all about believing victims, especially when I have no evidence to say that they're lying or they're telling the truth. But what I am saying is these are highly inflammatory and salacious allegations against this man that we have heard zero from. And as far as we know, he is free. He is not arrested. He has not been charged with anything, okay? So I don't want to be a part of what could potentially be slander against this guy if these allegations are not true. So I want to just make sure that you guys understand that everything here is alleged that I'm going to talk about. Whatever this lady says out her mouth is her own views and has nothing to do with the Strategic Eyes show. Now, let's keep going.
Happened since the last time that I recorded. I think the last time you guys saw me, I was in my second trimester. And yeah, I think I did post an update in the community section when the baby was born. And I said that I would be back soon. And that was a few months ago now. I thought that when I came back on here that it would be to maybe do like some kind of newborn favorites or meet my new baby or something like that. But unfortunately, it's been a little over a month since I had to end up leaving my husband. I honestly don't even really know where to start with this, just because it's just such a hard topic.
So somebody asked Sarah Adams if court cases could be under seal for safety. No, they wouldn't seal a case like this, especially not at this part. Court cases are public. You could put gag orders and stuff like that, but you can't wipe the court record and pretend like it's not on the calendar and the people don't exist. You can also redact the name of the children because they're so young, but this would not be a situation where they would somehow like some clandestine court case. That wouldn't happen in a case like this. And once again, I don't know if this guy is really facing criminal charge or not. And sometimes these investigations take a while, but there's no record of it. And I also want to say that I'm kind of conflicted with this video so far because there's two things going on. Number one, I'm conflicted because the children are so young and mommy is now basically talking about the most traumatizing thing that they will ever experience in their life to the whole world. And these kids will grow up and their friends, their family members, everybody will see this video and know that these children were a victim of sexual abuse. That's number one. On the other hand, though, she pretty much marketed herself as a relationship guru, and now she's basically talking about how her relationship has epically failed, resulting in the abuse of her children. And I kind of feel like it's kind of necessary in a sense that she kind of tells people like, hey, maybe I got it wrong and you should learn from me. I don't know if that's her intention, but that's what I would take from it if I'm somebody who was following her. But I just don't feel like it was appropriate for her to make this video. Now, I've seen this video already, and many of you have seen it already too. So that's why I'm stopping it here. We're going to listen through it, but I just don't feel like she should have made this video. But I'm going to do my best to make this video educational for the rest of us so that if somebody is in her situation, they'll be able to have the resources based off of what I'm going to tell you guys to see themselves through it. Because that's why we're making this video. We're not making this video to bash this lady or uplift her or anything. We're using her unfortunate circumstance for you guys to tell you guys the process. And we're going to get there, but it's a process to get there. So let's keep going.
And I honestly thought that by the time I got on here that I wouldn't have any tears left because I've just cried so much. It's like I built this channel and this whole brand around being this man's wife and trying to teach other women how to attract good men and provider men and all these different things. And I truly held my husband or saw him as the bar for what every woman should, type of man that, or type of husband that every woman should aspire to have. And I didn't realize that the person I married was actually going to be my biggest nightmare.
I don't know, man. I just feel like her affect is off. And listen, I gotta tell you guys this. I think that it's important for me to be honest with you guys as my community, where some bias may come into my world while listening to her tell this unfortunate story. Number one, I'm always going to be overly objective because in my line of work, people do come with these type of allegations and they end up not being true. And number two, why I can't just jump on that bandwagon, and I'm really looking at this from an objective point of view. I've had family members who are very close to me who were going through bad divorces, and they had allegations of sexual abuse made against them to the point where they got incarcerated and they had to go to a grand jury, and the grand jury looked at the evidence. And guys, I've testified in front of dozens of grand juries. It's a joke process. Once again, I'm a law enforcement officer. I'm telling you, the grand jury is a joke. If a prosecutor wants to indict somebody on a grand jury, they are indicted. Full stop. This relative of mine went before a grand jury facing similar allegations to what this lady is saying. And the grand jury said, hell no. And they let him go. And then years later, admissions were made that those allegations were not true. And apologies were made by the people who made those claims, saying that the allegations were not true and they shouldn't have done it, and they feel bad about it. So as I look at her affect, knowing what she's about to allege happened to her children, it's not adding up, but it does not mean that it did not happen. And in no way am I trying to beat up on this lady. I'm just saying it's not matching up, the affect and the body language and the way she's talking about it. And the fact that we're here even discussing this is a little bit macabre to me. It's a little bit uncouth that we are listening to her talk about abuse that happened 30 days ago, guys, to children age 2 and 4. Why are we here talking about this? I'm to the point where if this lady decides she wants to take this video down, I don't care if my video has 1 million views. If she takes this video down because she feels like this is not appropriate to share because it might damage her children as they get older, there are much bigger channels who's covered. Abba and Preach, they're probably going to have 1 million views by the end of tomorrow. But if she takes this video down, I will take my video down as well because I don't want to be a party. I'm going to use this as an educational vehicle. But if she takes it down and says, I agree, I don't think it's appropriate, I'm going to take this video down. But there's a lot going on here that's really raising some red flags for me. But let's keep going.
So basically, when I first met my husband, as I've already talked about in another video, I think it was my single mom video, I explained, a little bit about how we met. And I really thought that man was my Prince Charming. So when I first met my husband, I thought that he was my Prince Charming. I thought that he was my knight in shining armor, and, he portrayed himself to be this amazing, upright, righteous Christian man. And I believed him. I think shortly after we got married, and this is something that I haven't talked about, I started noticing like certain things changed with him. And I just started to
Well, I
see.
gotta say, from what I heard in my research, I haven't seen anything concrete, but doing a little research coming onto the show, she didn't know him that long. So she's saying things changed after they got married. My understanding is she's only knew him for a couple of weeks before they got married. That's my understanding. So I don't know what baseline she actually had to be able to determine who this guy really was. She didn't know who he was before she married him. All she knew was what he could do for her financially. And I'm not dogging her out, guys. You got to know the backstory to this, because some people say you're strategic. Why are you talking about? No, she has a whole channel, a whole body of work that explains this. That this is what she was looking for: financial stability, looking for a rich guy to take care of her while she stays at home taking care of the children, looking pretty and making herself accessible to her man. A kept wife, a trophy wife, looking pretty. Like she's sleeping in the bed and she's got a crispy white robe on with her hair looking like she's getting ready to go to a ball and makeup fully on. That's the trophy wife. Go to sleep with makeup, wake up with makeup on. Sarah Adams says it's her brand. It really is. That's all it is. Like, this is how she makes her money. Her money. So I'm not in any way trying to denigrate this woman. I'm literally just telling you what she says she does. And she did not know this man before she married him. And she will admit to you that she married him for his resources. But let's keep going.
A few things that I didn't like, but I honestly thought that some of these were things that I could get past.
So she just put a little sign up there. I almost missed it. It says that she was ex-assaulted 4 times. Did she say before or after they got married? A few months, in the first few months of their marriage. So he ex-assaulted her 4 times in the first few months of their marriage. That's what this caption here says. Let's keep going.
It's like sad to even say like I could get past some of these things. I don't even know where to start. 6 weeks ago, I was changing my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter, and I noticed that when I changed her, she was red and very sensitive.
Hold on. Let me go back here. I didn't get the age real quick. That slipped by me. And big shout out to 616 Love says that True Crimes was strategic. And I have my Invisalign on, so I sound crazy when I talk. But yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you, to stop on red flags, and she stayed. Right. I guess she said there were red flags and she kept going. She kept stayed with them. Let me see if I could get, I want to get that age.
Red, and when I changed her, she was, I noticed that when I changed her 6 weeks ago, I was changing my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter.
Okay, 4-year-old. Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that when I changed her, she was red and very sensitive.
Right. So she automatically assumes that the child was being sexually abused. And I of course, I did not examine the child's JJ. I don't know. I didn't see pictures, so I don't know what the level of trauma was on the child, but she's describing as red and sensitive. Um, I'm a parent of 3 kids. Wouldn't your first intuition or your first thought be that maybe it's diaper rash or something to that effect? Because the only reason I ask is because, like, you have to have had some type of warning or intuition, or what is the word? Why is it escaping me? Feeling, leads. I don't know. The word is I'm saying synonyms of the word that I'm looking for, but you would have to have something in the back of your head that says this guy is capable of doing this for you to assume that it's sexual trauma instead of something like a rash or diaper rash that happens all the time. Instead of like, where's the Desitin? Grab some Desitin and put some Desitin on it. And then let's figure out instinct. That's a good one, but that's not the word that I was looking for, but that's a good one. But the bottom line is, like, what would make her draw the connection between what could be, and mind you, I didn't see it, so I don't know exactly what she's talking about. I can't say that she is not spot on with what she felt was the problem. But, I'm an involved dad. I changed all my kids' diapers. And if I'm changing one of my daughters who are now big girls when they was babies, and I saw something, the last thing I would think is that mommy was doing something wrong to them. And I would hope that I know that, that she wouldn't think that I did something if we saw something like an irritated genital area, which happens to children constantly because they're literally defecating and urinating into a sponge, into a sponge that is pressing up against their genital area, which is going to cause infection and irritation. Well, not infection, but irritation. So I'm wondering, what is it about this man that made her immediately say, this has got to be some type of sexual trauma? But let's keep going.
And immediately, my first thought was, did someone touch her? Oh, God. Gosh. So I asked her, I said, baby, did somebody touch you?
Wow.
And she ended up saying it was daddy.
Wow. I mean, that's powerful. When a parent has to have that conversation with a 4-year-old, but 4 years old is kind of young. And we're going to talk about the difficulty in trying to get statements from a 4-year-old. But she asked the 4-year-old if the daddy did that to her. I think that's kind of inflammatory a little bit. I don't want to second guess this mother, but I guess because I'm a professional, I probably would have just asked, well, I don't think it's fair what I'm about to say, because what I'm about to say is basically how you're trained to question children of that age. And how would she know that? So that's me not being fair to her. I'm just going to keep going. How would she know how to forensically interview a 4-year-old? So no, that's not fair of me. Let's keep going.
I felt like my world ended on that day.
And 616 Love made a good point. I should have thought about that, but I appreciate you for grounding me and actually making that point. 616 Love says, as strategic, she does later state she was a victim as a child, so maybe that's why I myself as a survivor, when I noticed something about my daughter, my mind went there too. And that makes perfect sense. Good point, 616. If you are a victim of past trauma, It is more logical that you're going to assume the worst. You're going to assume that it's trauma when you see something occurring to somebody you love, because your brain is going to go back to that space. So yes, that makes perfect sense. Let's keep going.
My husband wasn't home at the time when she told me, but I knew he would be coming home soon, so all I could do was just say, don't tell him that you told me. And I just instantly started trying to think.
I don't know, it's like when you add up the kind of things like, it's like, did daddy do this to you? And the reason why I was going to go into the whole forensic stuff, but I was like, how would she know that? But somebody made the point in the chat that you can't put ideas in kids' heads because they'll run with it. Somebody said it. I'll find out who said it, and I'll give you a shout out. You did a good job. But that's where I was going to go with it. But I wanted to be fair to her, knowing that she's not a professional. But you don't put ideas in a kid's head. And then the follow-up conversation of don't tell him that you told me, it just seems a little bit too mature for a 4-year-old to have that kind of conversation with a 4-year-old. But I don't know. There's a lot of red flags here. But once again, we have no idea what's going on. And I definitely don't want to in any way denigrate somebody who might be going through something incredibly horrible with their family. But I'm just a natural skeptic, and there are a lot of red flags here. Let's keep
Think
going.
of how I could get my kids out of the house, because I knew if I confronted him or asked him about it, that he would just lie, and that he would probably just continue to keep doing stuff to her, but just become more covert or more sneaky or whatever. As soon as my husband got home, he was actually picking up the boys from school, my 2 older boys from school. As soon as he got home, I told him that I was gonna go Halloween shopping with my sister, because I just needed an excuse to get out of the house with all the kids. And I knew if I said something like, oh, I'm going to the grocery store, that it would be suspicious. Like, why am I bringing all the kids and like packing things, like things that we would need and things like that. So going Halloween shopping was the best thing I could think of to just hurry up and get the kids out of the house.
I don't know. Like, once again, so now she's kind of like rambling on the different plans that she was concocting to try and get out the house. But the kids, she had a moment when she could have left the house. She could have immediately taken the children to the police, called the police to come to the residence, taking the kids to the hospital. And yes, the husband was getting the boys, so that's something to consider. Maybe she didn't want him alone with the boys. I don't know. But she could have just taken the kid, the child, the 4-year-old and a 2-year-old straight to the hospital. And then he could have come home to her not being home. She could say, listen, something happened. I had to take the kid to the hospital or something, or just not pick up, or just say, hey, I had to step out for a bit. I'll be right back. I don't know the dynamics of their relationships, if that would fly. But the fact that she's rambling and taking all this time to kind of step all the different plans and thought process she had on how to get out, once again, it just doesn't seem natural to me as how somebody would tell such a horrific story. It seems as though she is telling us a narrative, and it's kind of troubling for me, but let's keep going.
House. I'm sorry, I had to get myself together. So when I got to the hospital, they basically told me that we had to go to another hospital because they didn't do physical exams, like that kind of physical exam there.
All right, so I want to jump in and tell you guys kind of like how this works. Before I do that, big shout out to Dr. Cataclysm. He says, this isn't adding up. If she was a victim when she was young and he essayed her before they were married, Why would she then marry him and grant him access to the children? The only thing I'd add with that, Dr. Cataclysm, she did say that the essaying happened shortly after marrying him. So there was no essaying apparently and no red flags prior to the marriage. But as soon as they got married rather, he essayed her 4 times, right? And I don't really know how that works because the whole thing of her channel and her brand is that her job is to look pretty and give access to her man. So I don't know what circumstance that they would have where he's like, hey, I want to have sex with you as the sole breadwinner of this home who's kind of living in some kind of patriarchal kind of hierarchy in the house. And then she would say no. It's possible. We don't know the circumstances, but there you have it. I don't know. All right. So she said she went to the hospital and they advised her that they don't do those type of examinations at that hospital for her to go to a different hospital. I don't know what state she's in, but it is possible that that happened because they needed a safe, sane nurse and they needed one that was specifically trained to deal with juveniles. We're talking about a 4-year-old. It takes specialized training. Most likely they'd probably do that as a children's hospital. So that kind of makes sense that they could not do it at the hospital that she initially went to. I don't see any red flags with that at all. But as somebody said in the comment section, her story kind of jumps around because in just a few seconds, she's then going to talk about the police, but she never said anything about how the police even got involved. And that would kind of be like one of the biggest things that you'd probably talk about is the police involvement, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who's going to bring you to justice. But let's keep listening.
A police officer escorted the kids and I to.
So we went to the hospital. The hospital said they couldn't do the examination here. We have to go to another hospital. And then the police officer escorted. Well, when did the police get involved? When did you call the cops? Did you call them before you went to the hospital? Did you call them after you went to the hospital? Did the hospital call them? Like, how did the police even get involved? So it's a little incoherent, but let's keep going.
To another hospital where they were able to evaluate my daughters. It ended up coming out that he had actually been touching both of my daughters.
All right, so here we go, because we're really jumping around, and somebody says something in the comment section I want to bring up. 616 Love says that they made her take her daughter to a child advocacy center. Now, not every state has the child advocacy center model, and the child advocacy center model is that it's a one-stop shop where everything is done in one center for the child. So when you bring the child, they have the forensic interviewers, they have the social workers to help you out with anything you need, if it's DV placement, emergency housing, whatever. They have doctors there to do the examination and not just examine for trauma of essaying, but also to just give a full physical examination, give the child whatever prescriptions they need, whatever. And then you also have the law enforcement there. So it's a one-stop shop situation where the child can get all the support and services that they need without being bounced around. Unfortunately, not every state has that model, right? My state does. Thank God for the victims so that they can get treated the way they deserve to be treated. Now, she just said, like, they went to the hospital and now they know that the father's the one who's touching the kids. That's there's so many things that's supposed to happen between them. First of all, where's the forensic interview? It could be anybody. It could be one of the brothers touching the kid. So how do we make the determination that it's the father doing it? Other than the fact that you told the child, is it your dad that's doing it? And the child said, yes, a 4-year-old she told that to. Also, the 2-year-old, I guess the 2-year-old has some side of trauma. How was the 2-year-old able to communicate that the father was the one touching them? So there's a lot of missing pieces here. You can't even do a forensic interview on a 2-year-old because they're too young. You know, when you do a forensic interview on a 4-year-old, you got to determine if the 4-year-old even understands what their private areas are. I've seen forensic interviews with 4-year-olds, and it's like, well, how many private parts do you have? And the child say, I got 9. Of course, the answer is typically going to be 4 or 5, depending on how you count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes they might, count whatever. The bottom line is 4 would typically be the answer. I've had kids say 9. So it's very difficult to do a forensic interview with a 4-year-old. But where is that? Like, she didn't talk about any of that process. None of that is happening in the hospital. The only thing the hospital do is say, okay, we examine and it looks like there's some trauma to the vaginal area, etc. And the body is so good at healing, unless the hymen is broken or something like that, it's very difficult if the child hadn't been abused in a couple of days to even tell if there's some type of trauma, especially if what it seems like she's alleging is just touching. So for me, I'm all about the pieces, the steps, the process. She's not giving us any of that in this video. And listen, do we deserve it? Are we entitled to it? No, but at the same time, she came out and made this video. She decided to air this deeply personal stuff to the whole world. So we're going to ask these questions because we have a right to know in that our children may be in danger. Because if this guy did all of this stuff and he's still out on the streets, we're all potential victims now. All of our children are potential victims. That's why we're curious. So there's a lot of missing pieces to this, but let's let her keep going.
Who are only 2 and 4 years old.
All right, so just let me answer a few questions while she's doing this pause. First of all, let me give you guys another way of looking at it. Kimberly Fine says she might legit believe that it's true, but it feels false because she's trying to make her perception match actions and storylines fit someone else's perception so they will agree and validate her fears. That's possible. And Integrity Means All says, well, where's all the police reports? And as I said in the beginning of this live, I think I said it, and if not, I'm going to say it now. I'm on Plunder's Patreon. I'm a big fan of Plunder, and I've subscribed to her Patreon for many, many months now. And she's doing a deep dive, and there are no police reports so far. There are no criminal charges. All there is divorce proceedings and a DV case against the father with one of the daughters. But guess what? If you make allegations of abuse, you're going to get a DV case. They have to adjudicate it. They have to figure it out. And guess what? If you took your child to a hospital and they're saying there might be trauma, of which we don't know that really even exists, we haven't seen any paperwork on it, but depending on how convincing you are to a judge or the type of judge you have who's just like, I don't give a damn, I'm just going to be cautious, you might get order protections and supervisory visits until the case is adjudicated. So for me, that kind of means nothing to me. It means nothing to me to say that there's a divorce filing that may have allegations of ex abuse in it. And it means nothing to me also that there might be a separate DV case against the father involving one of the daughters that have ex abuse allegations in it. What means something to me is an investigative report, a police report, and some type of action that shows that the case has been substantiated and there's probable cause to make arrests, there's probable cause to say that these allegations actually occurred. I haven't seen any evidence of that as of yet. So this is all alleged, ladies and gentlemen, and we don't really have a lot to back it up other than her word for it. But let's keep going.
It still feels like a dream. Like, when this first happened, I just kept waking up every day and just hoping that this was a dream. Because it's literally my worst nightmare. It's my worst nightmare. I myself am a product of RAPE. That's how I came to be. And was also, abused as a child by a neighbor's husband. And I specifically prayed to God that my children would never, ever, ever have to go through this.
All right, so Pinky says, I have not seen this with my own eyes. I don't even know who Pinky is. They are not even a member of the show. So take it with a grain of salt. But Pinky says the police report is public and it only shows DV, not sexual abuse. So that's also why I think she's lying about the essay. That's Pinky's perspective from what she believes she may have saw. But once again, I was on Plunder's Patreon and she didn't see anything, at least from my interpretation of what she wrote. Go subscribe to her Patreon and go see for yourself. But at least from my interpretation of what she wrote on her post, it doesn't appear that there's any evidence of that either, that there's any concrete evidence of SA being alleged against the father. So if that's the case, this is deeply inflammatory and it's the highest order of slander if that's the case. But it wouldn't be the first time that somebody has made these type of allegations during a divorce proceeding. It would also not be the first time that I personally had to investigate allegations from most often a wife making allegations like this against a husband. And it wasn't true, but let's keep going.
And I'm just not quite sure how this happened, why this happened. I just don't know how he was able to get away with it and so sneaky, because with my own trauma, I watch my kids like a hawk.
All right, so I'm going to stop here because this is actually, in my opinion, from what I saw in one instance, what makes me believe is not true. She just said, I don't know how he was so sneaky, and I don't know how he was able to get away with it because I watch my kids like a hawk. But, this is where it gets crazy. So Plunder was able to find, this is on her Patreon. I know I'm bigging it up, but I tell you guys where to find the info. She was able to find a unlisted video by this woman that she removed from her channel. In that unlisted video, she's talking about being a trophy wife and all her stuff, her brand. And in the background, her child is screaming profusely. And you can go watch that on Plunder's site. She screen recorded 5 minutes of it. So, of course, it was a very long video, but she just screen recorded 5 minutes of it. And the baby is screaming. Ah, ah. And she's like, yeah, if you hear my baby screaming in the background, she's upstairs with her dad. She's just acting up. Just ignore it. Something to that effect. Now, listen, I consider myself dad of the year. I don't know. I just feel like I'm dad of the year, okay? I think I'm a great dad. There has been almost 0 instances with 3 kids from first grader to junior. That's how the gamut of kids that I have, the age range. Whether it's the junior or the first grader, there's never been an instant where I'm taking care of my kids. And I've been in all their lives since day one. That they weren't crying like how children do cry. You need some more water. It's a lot of dust down here. And mommy didn't come to see what was happening. And mommy knows that I'm good with my kids and I'm trustworthy and I love my children and I never hurt them. But there's not one moment that they weren't crying profusely and mommy didn't come and peek in the room and see what's going on. Is she okay? Let me get her or let me get him or whatever and want to take over. Now, maybe she's just an ultra overprotective mom's mom that, you know what? The baby's crying. Let me get the baby so I can make the baby stop crying. Maybe that's just her. But I'm like, I got it. No, I got it. It's cool. No, give me the baby. Okay, here you go. So we watched her sit there choosing YouTube over her kid. Now, God forbid that was a moment that these allegations she's saying is happening. We don't know. But she just said, I watch my kids like a hawk. She just said that I'm super overprotective mom because of the things that have happened to me. But we watched her choose a YouTube video over her kid because her kid was crying profusely. Go watch it yourself. Crying profusely. Screaming. And she said, "Oh, no, yeah. If you want a man to take care of you and pay all your bills, you got to look good. You got to take care of yourself. Your presentation is everything." Don't mind that baby in the background. That's just my daughter. She's upstairs with her dad, and she's being a bad girl. But anyway, you have to put your foundation on, and you have to always look good and sexy to keep a high value man so you can pay all your bills and you not have to do anything just like me. That's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. I just recreated it for you. And if you think I'm lying, go check out Plunder's Patreon. Go check it out for yourself. But anyway, let's keep going.
Like, I don't like them sitting on people's laps. None of that. And he knows how much I cannot stand men like him. And to think, like, I couldn't even go to sleep in my own house and know that my children are safe.
Guys, please hit that like button. Support the channel. Please hit that like button. Show some love. Support the channel, guys. Let's keep going.
Just by me going to sleep, my children were left unprotected. So I don't know what the future of this channel is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to change the name or what.
So I think where she's heading at, I'm going to let her finish her thought because I want to tell you the cautionary tale in this.
Yeah.
All right, so she's about to switch it off. The reason why she just said, I don't know if I'm going to change the name. I don't know what the future of this channel is. And for those of you who don't know, her name is Isis. That's not her real name. She goes by Isis Morales. That's her pseudo name or her stage name. I'm not trying to find out this lady's personal information or her name. I don't care. I don't care enough. All right. But that's her name, Isis Morales. You Google that, you'll find Instagram and all that stuff. The reason why she says, I don't know if I'm going to change the name of the channel, I don't know, is because everything, and this is separate from the tragedy of what may have happened to her children. All of it is alleged, please. It's just 100% alleged at the end of the day. Because we have no evidence of it, guys. And I see everybody, I even saw a big channel, I'm a big fan of Abba and Preach, like they're just like, oh yeah, this is happening. Like, we don't know if this happened. We have no idea if this happened. No, that's why I did not show you guys the picture of the husband. I didn't show you the picture of the husband because I don't know if this man is being railroaded and this is not true. But the reason why she needs to change the name is because all this stuff is a fraud, not necessarily her allegations. I don't know. I'm going to err on the side of caution and say that I want this to get adjudicated and I want this man to be locked up for the rest of his life if he's guilty of abusing his children. I'm talking about these relationship channels that go out there and tell people how to allegedly find love. You're not going to find happiness if you listen to people like Isis. You had no idea of knowing that Isis is a damaged person that clearly did not put the work in to protect herself and in turn protect her children if this is true. And I don't mean to talk harsh, but I guess I do because that's what I do on this channel. I do talk harsh. ISIS laid out to us. We would not know this unless ISIS decided to provide this information on YouTube for going on 3 million people to see. So don't feel sorry for her because she made this video that has almost 3 million views. And it's monetized, so she's making a cool $20,000 to $30,000 off of that video. And maybe she needs it because maybe she's going through a really tough time. But her bearing her soul to us did not go without its rewards. She said that she was a product of rape. Tragedy. That means that her mother was victimized by somebody. Then she said that she herself was a victim of SA from an adult male neighbor. Now, her children allegedly are a victim of SA from their biological father and stepfather, because I think one of those kids isn't his kid and one is. And yet she's on YouTube telling you how to find love in a very, how should I say, demented way, because she's like basically excluding love and saying that people should just do these things for money. Money should be the basis and the crutch of what your metric is of finding that love. She's on here telling hundreds of thousands of women that her way is the right way, and look what we find. Why? Why did we get to this outcome? Whether these are real allegations or just a really messy divorce and she's slandering his name, how did we get to this outcome? Because you're getting your information from deeply flawed, damaged people. And I'm saying damaged not because being SA makes you less of a person. No, there's a process. There's a process of graduating from being a victim to a survivor, and from a survivor to a warrior. We talk about that all the time on this channel. And she didn't put the work in. Does it look like she put the work in? Does somebody who has gone to therapy and gotten their self-worth back and gotten their power back come on YouTube and tell you that you should be beholden to a man? That a man should be the leader of your house and take and pay all your bills and all you got to do is look pretty for him and sex him? Is that what somebody who has done the work would say? No. No. She didn't put the work in. But then she comes on YouTube and she's pretty, she's decent looking, and she's confident. And we are programmed biologically to believe and put trust in beauty and confidence. Two things she does not lack. So she comes on with her beauty and her confidence and she says, look at me. Look at me. I've got the winning formula. And she doesn't have the winning formula, ladies and gentlemen. Because she did not put the work in, what do we have? We have generational abuse. I guarantee you, not 100%, there's nothing 100% in this world, but I guarantee you, if she would have put the work in, she would have got therapy for her abuse tragedy. If her mother would have got therapy, and she would have got therapy, if these allegations are true, her daughters would not be victims right now, because she would never have met a man and married him for money within the span of 30, 60 days, however long it took her to marry this guy, but my understanding was just a couple of weeks, and proclaimed that she knew a man enough not just to make children with him, but to also bring around 4 children into this man's world. You know, in these type of situations, it's hard to say shame on you because you got the empathy for what the person is going through. But geez, man, I don't care. Shame on you, man. Shame on you, because if you want to be SA'd 4 times by your husband and accept that, that's on you. You're an adult. I will fight for you. I'll feel sorry for you. I'll give you resources. I'll do anything and everything I can for you. But you're an adult. But you put your children allegedly in harm's way. And now, not only did you put your children in harm's way, but you made a video that now has almost 3 million views talking about your children's trauma. They didn't even get the opportunity to process their trauma. They're not even mature enough to understand their trauma. And everybody moving forward for the rest of their life will judge them based on their trauma, because mommy wanted to go on YouTube and tell their business to everybody and make her $20,000 to $30,000 off of YouTube revenue sharing. So yeah, my intention when I came on to do this video was, we're going to keep it straight professional. We're just going to talk about the process, the rape kit, the sock kit, the forensic interview. But I'm pissed, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm pissed and I'm disappointed in this lady. And if I pretend like I'm not pissed and disappointed, I would be very dishonest with you as my viewers. And the last thing I want to do is be dishonest with you. I am disappointed in her. I'm disappointed in this video. I'm disappointed in the fact that some of this stuff is not adding up to me. I'm disappointed in the fact that she came out and said this and didn't even provide any evidence or anything like that. I'm disappointed in the fact that Plunder went and did her deep dive and couldn't find anything that corroborates this other than some DV cases that don't even outline sexual abuse in those cases, from my understanding. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. It's just another long line of bad decisions by a person who acts like they love themselves, looks like they love themselves, but they don't love themselves. When you peel back that veneer, I guarantee you, you're going to see something ugly. And that lack of self-awareness and self-understanding put her children in harm's way. And even if this man did not abuse those little girls are still traumatized because they are now a part of a very ugly divorce. And even worse, if that man did not abuse those girls, now their mama is online saying that they was abused. And you want to know what the greatest tragedy? You want to know what the greatest tragedy of SA is? In my opinion, because I've seen this before and I've seen how this has psychologically affected people. The greatest tragedy of SA is not even being SA'd. People are like, what the hell is this guy talking about? That's a good one, Integrity said, the cycle. I will agree with that too, but that's not what I'm going to say. But that's a good one, Integrity means all. The cycle. The cycle is a big tragedy. But the greatest tragedy is not even being SA. The greatest tragedy is in those rare instances when I've come across people who have been indoctrinated into believing that they were SA'd and they weren't. When you carry around that burden, that trauma, and it's not even yours. Somebody told you it happened to you for their own wares, but it never happened to you. What a tragedy to walk around believing that you were violated and you never were. I wonder, could this be one of those situations where those kids could be growing up believing that they were SA'd and they weren't? But I digress, and I want to like what Integrity Means All said by saying the cycle, because that's also what we see here. We see that cycle continuing, and nobody's breaking that cycle. Put the work in. Get off of YouTube and put the work in. Get off of YouTube and put the work in. Fix yourself. Because your trauma has affected you more than you will ever know and more than you might be willing to admit. Your trauma have taken your self-worth away. It's taken your dignity away. It's turned you into an object. And it has indoctrinated you into objectifying yourself so much that you made a whole brand off of trying to convince other women that it's okay for them to objectify themselves too. And what did you get out of it? Maybe a Chanel bag, maybe some Gucci shoes, and a loveless relationship with a man that possibly SA'd your children. Congratulations. You played yourself. That's all I got for you, fine people. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go off like that. I know some people might be upset with me. If I believed that this woman was 100, I'm going to tell you how I really feel. If I believed that she was definitely being 100% honest, I would not have said the things I've said in this video, but I don't believe it. And this was not my intention. I assured Aki that when I came on here today, I was simply just going to talk about the process and kind of educate you guys on the process. But I don't believe this, man. And if I'm wrong, I'll come on and I'll say, I'm sorry. I'll pull this video down. I'll make another video telling you guys what I said during this video and how I was wrong, and I'll apologize, and life moves on. I'm not God. I don't proclaim to be God. I don't proclaim to know everything. I am just a person like the rest of you. But I'm not buying this. There's too many holes in here. It's not adding up. And plastered all over her page is the GoFundMe. It's the GoFundMe, ladies and gentlemen. We've seen this before. We had a black woman come on YouTube. Oh, they punched me in my face. Some black man, this was a black woman talking about another black man. Some black man asked me for my phone number, and I told him I don't want to give it to him, and he took a brick, and he knocked me in my face, and that turned out to be fake. That lady's now facing felony charges of fraud in Texas for concocting an assault, raising almost $40,000 in GoFundMe. Most of that money is gone, by the way, for fraud. She basically concocted this and lied. It would not be the first or the last time that has happened. Wouldn't be the first or the last time. So here's this woman. Divorce is happening as of September. End of September, and she's making all these inflammatory allegations, of which every single sex crimes detective would tell her, do not do this. You're destroying our case if you do this. Do not go on YouTube and make a video about our open and active case involving juveniles. Don't do this. Yet she's here doing this. And this is all public information. Why is it that Plunder could find divorce information, but she can't find police report and SA information? Why? They would just redact their name. It'd just be like the Maddie case, where you're getting all the details, just everything is being redacted. This doesn't make sense. But once again, if I'm wrong, I will apologize. If she happens on this video and say, you're wrong, Strategic, here's my paperwork, I'm not going to put her paperwork out there. I'll be like, yo, shoot, you emailed it to me. I shredded it now. I have it in my memory banks. I respect it. It happened. I will come on here and I will apologize. But I really don't see it right now. I don't. Anyway, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, guys. So I appreciate you guys immensely. I think we had a good show today. You guys were great. Really big shout out to everybody who supported the channel, becoming a member. We have 7 new members to the show. You guys are great. Big shout out to everybody who joined me today on this live. I really do appreciate the love and the respect and that we get to the show. Make sure you're a member of the Patreon. Make sure you're a member of the membership. I post exclusive stuff almost daily on the Patreon, and the membership is worth it. It's very affordable. You guys are great, man. We're building a strong community. And we appreciate you guys for supporting us and standing by us as we try our best to get to 100,000 subscribers. So guys, I see you guys on the next one. Strategic is out of here. You know, I always start saying I'm out of here before I even cue up the outro, man. It's like clockwork. I do it. What? Oh, yeah. Once again, remind you guys, we'll be giving the shirts away. One more time. Take a look. This way. Strategic guys, don't be a per diem dad. Be a full-time dad in your kid's life, people. Don't be a per diem dad. Anyway, guys, I see you guys on the next one. Strategic is out of here. Peace.